Okay, now that we have imported the backlog, we've ranked the backlog in order of priority, and we've assigned estimates and story points to all the stories in the backlog. Now it's time to plan the first sprint. The way we're going to do this is we're going to scroll up to the top of the page, go to the sprint planning shortcut, and it'll take me right to this card wall where we can plan the sprint. Now, right now we're looking at all the stories that are part of the current release. All those stories that we imported were automatically added to the release backlog for the current release, release 1. I'm going to click on Maximize to hide everything else. And you'll see that there's 3 columns here. The first column just shows the backlog for the release. These are all the stories that we plan on implementing in this release, but we haven't actually put into a sprint yet. And you also see 2 empty columns for Sprint 1 and Sprint 2. Now what I really care about right now is just planning Sprint 1, but I might find it useful to see Sprint 1 and Sprint 2 at the same time. Later, if I need to turn on more columns for more sprints, I can get them here. But for the time being, I'll just keep these 2. So this card wall, like all the card walls in this template, is sorted based on rank. So the top card in this column is card 22, and the next one is card 21. You recall that when we did the ranking exercise, I put these 2 as the top priority. So it's important that we get these done during Sprint 1. So I'm just going to drag this card over to the Sprint 1 column. And you'll notice that as I drag it that the number up here updates with 3. That's telling me the total number of story points that I've planned for the sprint so far. So I can see that I've put 2 3-point stories in. Another thing I'll point out to you is the colors in these cards tell me something about their size. The lighter the color, the smaller it is, and the darker the color, the bigger it is. So this card, I'm guessing, is probably a 13-point story. If I click on it, oh, actually it's a 21-point story, biggest possible story we have in this project. So that's not really germane right now. We'll just keep pulling things from the top of the pile. And what I'm shooting for on this team, we have estimated that we can do 25 points worth of work in any given sprint. So as I keep pulling off the top of the sprint deck, you'll see that oh, we just went over. We hit 26 points. So if I bring that back, we're at 24 points, and this is why it's useful to have a second sprint up, because I can take this this card and move it over to Sprint 2. But in the meantime, I need to find myself a 1-point story, and I think that the card 15 is a 1-point story. Let me just click on it. I can see in the quick view that it is a 1-point story. Close that and just drag it over. And now I've planned my 25 points for my sprint, and I've gotten a little bit of a head start on planning Sprint 2, but I'm not going to worry about the rest for Sprint 2. But what is good is that these 2, 4, 6 stories are now planned for Sprint 1. And in fact, if I go back to my regular view and I click on the Sprint Backlog tab, I now will see my card wall, and I'll see all 6 of those stories are over on the left-hand side of my card wall, because now we are ready to start our very first sprint in Mingle.